All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone. Can you all hear me? Test, test, test. Okay. All right. This is awesome. We haven't had this many people here in a while, so this is super, super exciting. Thank you all for making it out to Springfield Devs tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Levi Zitting. I'm the president of Springfield Devs. And before I get too deep into announcements, if it seems crowded in here, it's because it is. We're doing two presentations tonight. So presentation number one, the functional programming presentation by Jordan, is going to be in this room. And then Miranda Provance is going to be giving her presentation on demystifying personalization in the Forvis room, which is right around the corner. So after announcements, we'll take a few minutes, let everyone split up into the room that they would, to whatever presentation they would like to see. And hopefully there will be a little bit more room after that. If there's not, we'll grab some more chairs. So, okay. Jumping into announcements. First off, these events are only possible because of all of our sponsors here. So please give a big round of applause to all of our sponsors. I'm pretty sure I broke the record for how much pizza I've had to order at one of these events this year, so it is like very helpful that we have them to cover the cost for a lot of these. Speaking of sponsors, we actually have a new sponsor. Springfield Tech Council has actually decided to sponsor Springfield Devs. Did they send anyone? Is there anyone from Springfield Tech Council that was going to get up and speak tonight? Okay, we'll let them do that next month then. Anyways, but this is brand new, happened in the past month, so thank you to Springfield Tech Council. Give them a round of applause as well. Okay, next. In terms of upcoming community events, it is still the summer and there's not really a lot going on, but I'll give a quick shout out to OpenSGF because I also am one of the organizers there. We're a group that works on software projects for nonprofits in our local tech communities, so if you're interested in donating some of your tech skills, we meet once a week here at the eFactory, 6 p.m. Normally we're in the Forvis room or kind of one of the smaller rooms, but we're also on Meetup, so if you're interested, look us up on Meetup. Also, we haven't really done a lot in terms of announcing like new board members to the Springfield Devs board or board members leaving, but we want to change that because these board members go through a lot and volunteer their time to help make our group possible. So want to give a quick shout out to Landon Lewis and Mike Bates who are leaving the board in August. It was great having them on the board. Landon served as our treasurer for a while, did an awesome job of taking care of the books and making sure that like we had money in the bank account and all that kind of stuff. And Mike, if you all don't know Mike, he was one of the original founders of Springfield Devs. And so thank you for their service to our board, and we're gonna be sad to miss them. We are gonna be sad to see them go, but it was great having them while we could. Speaking of which, we have some new board members. So Ryan DeLapp, who I think is here. There we go. Ryan was voted onto the board this past month. We're super excited to have him. And then also John Detmer, who is not here tonight, but he also recently joined the board in August. Now, with Mike leaving the board, it's a bit of like an end of an era. Who here has known about this group for like at least 5 years? Okay, you have probably seen Mike Bates before. I'm surprised how many people did not raise their hands. This is awesome. So Mike Bates, he founded the group back in 2014. It was Springfield Web Devs. They met at Marlin University, eventually moving to Patton Alley Pub. Who remembers Patton Alley Pub? Okay, there's a few of those. I miss that place. And then moved to the eFactory later on in 2015. And then in 2019, speaking of which, there was an event, I'm pretty sure every single month since 2014. Thanks and no doubt to Mike Bates, who paid for most of these events out of his pocket. There was not an actual nonprofit formed, so the pizza was his gift to the community. And then also, in 2019, he decided to make it official and formed the official Springfield Devs board and turned us into an actual nonprofit. We started getting board members and rebranded to Springfield Devs instead of Springfield Web Devs. Also, there was a conference, like just days before the first lockdowns happened. Oh my goodness. Mike played a major role in making sure that that conference went off smoothly. And then just recently, back in December, we passed our 100th Dev Night. That's what we call these events if you're not familiar with. And then just recently, this past month, we passed 1,000 members on Meetup. And so then also in August, Mike says farewell to the board. And this is kind of our tribute to him, to thank him for all that he's done for this group and making this all possible. He's not here tonight, but I'm going to send him this recording. I also bought him Mellow Yellow, his favorite soda, and he didn't even show up to drink it. But anyways, I'll rag him about it later. But please give a big round of applause to Mike Bates for all he's done for our group. Okay, and with that, one more community announcement. Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Hey, I'm Miranda. Gonna tell you what's up with my talk in a second. But before we do that, I want to tell you about a really cool event coming up with Springfield Women in Tech. It's happening October 17th at 5:30 upstairs in the loft. And we're going to be reporting on our very first workplace survey. So our goal here was to survey a bunch of people in tech, and boy, did y'all turn out. We got over 350 responses, which is amazing. So we're going to share the results of that survey and some focus groups that we ran with local women in tech, just to highlight the types of benefits, policies, cultures that people in tech care about the most to help local businesses retain diverse talent and attract diverse talent, especially when competing against remote companies and companies on the coast too. So super excited about that event. It's open to everyone and free, and we'd love to have you there.
Thank you. And then I think the last community announcement, for those of you who haven't heard of Hack for Good, it is a yearly hackathon. It's been on pause for a few years because of the craziness. But they are coming back Friday through Sunday, November 3rd through 5th, here at the E-Factory, I believe. Yes? There's details on the website that are much more accurate than me, so you should go to their website and find all that information there. I know that they're interested in still finding some volunteers, so scan that QR code if you're interested in helping out. But the whole point is it's a hackathon building software for nonprofits. They find a organization that's in need of something built, and then they bring the community together, split up into teams, and every team tries their best to build the bestest version of a software for them. So if you've never heard of Hack for Good, it's super fun. It's a fantastic way to network and have fun for a weekend. So with that, one more announcement before we jump into presentations. We are going to be doing an after party again. So if you're interested in hanging out with us a little bit longer, we're going to be down at 417 Tap House. Snap a picture of this if you don't know what the address is, because it's up there. And yes, also, this slide we never put effort into, but it's our obligatory, if you can do graphic design better than us, you should volunteer to help us make these. Yeah, so if you're interested in hanging out with us afterwards, we'll be down there. Okay, on to presentations. As I mentioned a minute ago, we have 2 presentations happening tonight. Miranda is going to be speaking on demystifying personalization, and I'm going to let her take just 30 seconds or so to kind of advertise her talk, and then we'll have Jordan come up and do the same for his.
Hey everyone, the talk I'm going to do tonight is about personalization, and I'm talking about it in the context of demystifying it because it's something that we kind of all hear about here and there. We probably see it all over the apps and websites we use, but we may not know that much about it, and I find that our clients come to us looking for it, but without any idea of why or what they really want to accomplish. So I'm going to talk about what it is, a little bit about how you might go about it, and most importantly, helping your business and your clients find the why and the purpose behind personalizing websites.
Thank you. So if that sounds interesting, in just a couple minutes, we'll have Miranda lead everyone out to the Forvis room, which is just around the corner where her presentation will be. And then, Jordan, you want to do yours? And then we will split after he's finished, actually, because that's the end of my slides.
Hi, I'm that guy right there. My talk is on functional programming, so if nobody's familiar with that, it's a programming paradigm. My talk is mostly centered around kind of what it is, how to start using it, what it's good for, and mostly centered around how to use it to dig yourself out of a messy code base. Lately, I've been digging around in spaghetti code base that was like made by Tony Soprano, and trying to find any way to organize myself with it in functional programming. Learning some of the concepts of that has really helped. I'm no expert, but I think the talk is a good foray into it.
All right, and with that, disperse. We'll wait 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5, depending on how long it takes. Grab some pizza if you're headed into the other room, because this will be your last chance for a little bit, and drinks and all that sort of thing. But we'll get started in just a minute.
Oh, one check is yes. Clicker. Powerful. All good?
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys all for coming for my talk. I really appreciate that. Not that many people left. I kind of feel bad. But hi. My teacher's in the back. Okay. All right. Now I know what it felt like to be teaching me. Yeah. Anyway, this talk is about functional programming. Some of the examples would be JavaScript. It's kind of language agnostic, this talk. And really it's more about really just getting better and getting more knowledge about coding the things out there so we can organize ourselves better. I think for the first, couple years of programming, you just know happy anything works. So you really don't pay attention to like paradigms and things like that. Those things really don't you really don't care about them until you get 3 or 5 years in. You keep making the same mistakes. You kind of go, it's kind of got to be a better way to organize ourselves here. Because I think we've all been there before, where you get assigned tasks or you have an ID for something. You get super giddy about it, you're excited about it. You write out your code, you pound it out, it starts to work. You hit roadblocks, get past them, comes together, and eventually you compose some type of working solution, some type of working website, some type of working code, some task that gets completed. At the end, the code probably doesn't look like you expected it to. Probably took a lot of different turns. And it may be a thing that you're really happy with the way it works, and you kind of don't want to touch it. You kind of want to leave it perfect the way it is, even though it's not perfect, and it kind of makes you go whenever you look at it. I know we've all seen that code and code bases before. Has anybody ever seen a clean code base, by the way? Has that happened to anybody yet? No, okay, not just me, okay. We'll get there one day, folks. So yeah, you have your code. You really don't want to rewrite it. No, and you think, if you're in an enterprise type place, you go like, no, it's gonna take someone 5 extra minutes to read this thing versus me rewriting it. The couple hours it's gonna take me to rewrite it. So I'm just gonna skip it. My time is up. I kind of went over anyway, so I'm just gonna go on. No big deal. That's fun once, twice, 3 times. It's starting to get pretty hairy here, knowing that little piece of code you wrote is getting bigger, and as requirements increase, as they always do, client average goes, that's the end of our requirements, we're never going to need you again, it never happens. I've loved that to happen. It's going to keep increasing, it's going to keep getting bloat, and maybe 2 years go by for that code, and you've hired interns, and now they're looking at your code as an example for what to write. So we've gone way past exponentially bad here. We've set up the future generation for failure. That's how much this couple hours we didn't take to rewrite our code has cost us. I think this is particularly bad in object-oriented because the great thing about object-oriented, it does lend itself to an industry where we do have increasing requirements. We do have increasing classes. Like things get added all the time. We need inherent classes. But there's really nothing in object-oriented programming that tells you to stop. It really is up to the discretion of the programmer to decide, I think this class is big enough. I don't think this is a problem now. I think this, we have enough abstraction here. We have, too bloated of code here. It doesn't need to get any bigger. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And if you don't have the right tools in mind, it's kind of hard to know where to start. I guess I can go past the first slide now. Yeah, so what it's like to code. That's what it's like to code. It takes a lot of time to build good code. It takes a lot of years to get those practices down. It's not always clear what you should do. So it's like to code, and it's a mess. No, it's always a mess. No, we always have to fight. No, entropy is the law of the world. Nothing. You leave your house alone for a year, it's not going to come back and look perfect. There's got to be vagrants in there. The walls are cracking. There's raccoons in there fighting over your kitchen scraps that you didn't clean out. It's a complete mess. It's a constant fight to keep things good, which it's fun. It gives us something to do. It's why we're all paid a lot, right? No? Okay. I'm doing great, guys. I don't know about you. Yeah. God, I'll quit bragging. Yeah, so you have all this code, and it's kind of messy, but it works. But there's lots of buts to it. It's a butt parade. It works, but it causes other bug, or it works, but it's kind of hard to explain. I'm sorry, I'll stay here, Levi. It works, but it's hard to explain it. But we really shouldn't use it as an example. We shouldn't. It's really not documented. When it does this, it doesn't, do that. Or if this situation happens, it kind of fails. It just ends up, you end up accumulating all this baggage that you need to clean up. And again, I don't think object-oriented is very keen at doing that. So, all that stuff starts to build up, and you start to kind of freak out, and you're looking at all this code, like, what have we done? It feels like this. You're trying to blow out a fire. It feels all your efforts are futile. Like you don't really know what to start at all. So what do we do? What do we do when that happens? Any suggestions? Huh? Yeah. Burn it all down. Start over. We're done with this thing. It sucks. We're starting with a blank page. Nothing works. We're starting over. Blank page. Okay. But no. We've got to let it burn, and we're going to start with a clean sheet. But no, as soon as you start with a clean sheet, you kind of start to put in things that already work. No, it did work at some point. So what were the things that did work, and how can we refactor those in our head to not make this mistake again? Which we will, but that's okay. We'll get a little better each time. So we're going to be talking about how to use functional programming to do that tonight. But before that, I want to talk a little bit more about object-oriented. Yeah, object-oriented, you're not good enough for us anymore. No, it's kind of a strange thing that object-oriented got so popular. I'm not exactly sure why. I think a lot of it is because the languages that got popular use it. Java, Swift, Ruby. Those were really popular for a long time. And it does appeal to the industry. We have its requirements, and also the imperative nature of object programming, object-oriented programming. Let's call it OO for now. It kind of lends itself to learning because it's imperative. Like you're telling the computer exactly what to do. And when you're first learning how to talk to computers, that's a very important concept to get. Computers are not smart. They're rocks we taught how to think. Yeah, they can't intuit anything. Useless. They don't know where to use them. So it kind of lends itself to teaching because, as a teacher, you're trying to get a student to understand how to talk to a computer. And you have to be very explicit. It doesn't ever, it's like, oh, I get you. You're talking about, no, but a computer would never do that to you. Even with AI now, it's just, it's a lie, basically. Yeah, so it lends itself being taught in the industry demands, new features, new classes, all that stuff. And there's some people that have some real beef with object-oriented programming. Real beef. One guy is Edgar Diska. He is a academic, and he says object-oriented programs are offered as alternatives to correct ones. Now, Edgar is an academic in old school. I believe he was around in the 60s and 70s primarily. Not that he died right after. But I think it lends to the fact that object-oriented programming doesn't really have the opportunity for excellence, and it really is more of a work tool than a fully thought out applied mathematic idea. He also said object-oriented programming is an exceptionally bad idea which only originated in California. I don't know what he means by this exactly, but it's very funny to me, and so I'm just gonna keep saying to random people on the street. And like, you never heard of Dishka? What are you, an idiot? All right, some of the problems. Imperative style, good for teaching. After, again, like computers don't intuit what you're trying to say. But after 3 years into programming, you kind of go, I'm tired of writing a freaking class out again, and having to write a class out to just capture this one piece of data that I need, and I'm writing a class out for this and that, and having to deal with inheritance. Oh, there's an interface on there, which no good for us, but no, I got to deal with that. You kind of just want it to start thinking for you, or at least start abstracting that away from you so you don't have to tell it exactly what to do. Like, maybe we could write some stuff that already knows how to do this, and we could just send it stuff and it'll get something back to us. That would be beautiful. Subject to bloat, I just talked about. There's no object or OO is not a structured language. There's no point where it says stop. There's no point where it says you broke this rule. It really lets you do anything, which like JavaScript is good in a lot of ways, but if you don't put any restraints on yourself, JavaScript gets very on hand. I'm sure everybody in this room has seen some really bad JavaScript before. I still love the language, but it's subject to it. No strategy to constrain bad programs from doing damage. Yeah, we can all do damage to ourselves and others, and thank God we have laws and stuff that prevent that. And I think programming needs those laws as well. Mutable state. Again, there's nothing in object-oriented programming that tells you, hey, you can't update this array 18 times in 18 different places. There should be. Someone should scream at you for that. You should be taking a back alley, my opinion, if I was dictator. But no, there's nothing to prevent you from doing that. And trying to get people who are just trying to get the ideas of programming under their belt and trying to be slightly reductive to think about those things, it takes a lot of time. Again, like, you don't think about this stuff until you've been 3 years in, 5 years in, and you've done the same stuff and seen the same code and finally realize, oh, I'm not stupid, the code is. And it takes a while to get there. And you can find plenty of articles hating on OOP. That really doesn't mean anything's bad. In tech, there's obviously a lot of people who have very harsh opinions on things. I'm definitely one of them. I'm sure all of you are as well. Code smell is a real thing. Remember, my teacher, Tiffany Ford, is not here tonight. I'm sure you guys have seen it before. She said the word code smell to me before. I was like, I don't have any idea what that means. And then she made the face. I was like, oh, okay, I've done that before. Yeah, it makes total sense. Okay, so those are some problems with object-oriented programming. Why the Func? Well, we need a way to organize ourselves that's better than object-oriented programming. There's no requirements in object-oriented programming to stop anywhere or to write clean code. It's all based on the user. So, math and computer science obviously have a lot in common. If mathematicians have something in common with programmers, is that they're trying to gather abstractions into a single direction to solve a solution. Now all that mouthful is like they're trying to figure shit out. That's what they're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make things happen. It's not easy. Again, entropy, raccoons. Database goes down. Life is chaos. It's hard. I was watching a presentation on functional programming, and the guy mentioned Math Britannica or something like that. He was talking about all this complicated math they're doing, and once he was scanning through it, he hadn't read all of it, but once he got to page 305, they finally proved that 1 + 1 = 2. 300 pages, 350 pages. So, I guess next time you see a library or a microservice that's 3,000 lines long, Maybe they did need that. But one of the things that math came up with is functions. So the idea is it's helpful for mapping, and the idea behind it is an input will get an output, and if you put that input in every time, you'll get that output out of it every time. And that's a concept that we can really leverage in our code. So the first thing that function programming takes up is pure functions. So that's a similar idea to the mathematics, is that if you put input into this function, you should get the same output out. So that means that, well, I'll show you what it means here in a second. The other part of that is no side effects. So if you have a function that's adding numbers, it should only add numbers, and it shouldn't add numbers outside of its scope either. So an example, so they compare this to one on the top left there is a pure function. So send x and y in, and you add those two together, and get 6. And so if you, no matter what, if you put 2 and 4 in there, you will get 6 out of that every time. So if you put the same inputs in, you'll get the same outputs out. The other style, where it's not pure, it's using a global variable outside of itself to add addition. So depending on what x is, if you put 4 in, or if y is 4 or whatever, you're going to get if you put 4 in, you're going to get a different outcome based on what x is. Maybe someone updated x way back in the code. Maybe they added a new subscribed that updates x when a user clicks something. It's not reliable sense, because you have data here that's being mutated, and you can't control that. And what that leads to, I'm sure we've all been there, is that you spend hours and hours going through code trying to find one little piece where something's getting updated, and it's driving you insane. You spend hours and hours doing it, and you go, why did somebody do this to me? Why did they hate me so much that they would do this to me personally? Some more examples. So you have a very simplistic array up there with 3 elements in it. You put it in function A. If A is a pure function, what will x be after that's ran? Any ideas? Say that again. Yeah, it will stay the same. It's a pure function. It's not going to change at all. If we make it more complex, so we have a bunch of this. We're calling many things, multiplying, we're trimming. At the end, if these are all pure functions, x is still going to be the same exact array it was. This is the goal of pure functions. You should not be causing side effects or changing things that are warranted. And it avoids the problem of, hey, something was updated in this file over here, and it's affecting your changes over here. That's not maintainable. That's going to drive everybody insane. It's got to make everybody lose their hair. So what if we did put impure in there? So again, now we need some rigid rules here, because there's nothing stopping somebody to jamming a J in the middle of that array. And now, if you, depending on that middle of that array to be B, later in your code, you're screwed. You just, yeah. So another problem that functional programming faces is the idea of mutable data. So the fact that we're changing and updating things all the time, and it kind of is unbearable or unmaintainable. Now, if you have pure functions, you use them all you want, but if somebody down the line is changing those values or changing anything like that, it's going to screw you over. It's going to make it a problem. So in walks a radical solution. Immutable data structures. Don't change it. Don't touch it. Don't do anything. Also called not ephemeral data structures. I just put that in there because I thought the word ephemeral used in programming was very odd. It sounds like artsy-fartsy and kind of like visceral. I find it very strange I would use that. So yeah, immutable data structures. So don't change anything ever. Okay, job's done. Let's go home. Wait, how do we do anything ever then? well, shit, we just made another problem. Well, the way functional programming deals with this is it provides data structures with operations that can copy themselves through modification. So instead of mutating the same array over and over again, whenever you want to update something, you make a copy of that array with the modification you want and use that instead. So now that immediately creates a problem of making additional copies of a copy of a copy. No, you use up all the RAM in your system, you cry, you go home, you're fired. You don't have to program anymore, so hey. So copy of a copy, no, 5-element array or 3-element array that I showed, it's fine. No, 5 million element array, not that good. Luckily, smart people exist, and they came up with another idea. An idea to solve this. Persistent data structures. So these are data structures that can copy and write in a very, very efficient way. We'll talk about that a little bit. So instead of it just being a blank array that gets all 5,000 elements or however many elements copy every time, we're going to copy the specific piece that we're updating instead. So we're not copying this whole array and doing all these all the CPU work and RAM work unnecessarily. We're just going to update just one aspect that we're doing. So how it does that is it then treats data structures, an array in this case, more like a tree with nodes attached to it. So each leaf has a node and it's going to update those. So imagine this 27 character element array. It's an alphabet that's really excited about being an alphabet. So that's our array, and it's being represented by leaves or no clusters of 3. So one cluster at the top branches out into 3, branches out into 3. So if we want to update the middle one in, we don't have to copy the whole thing. So what we do instead, we change that to Q. We change that reference. Then we change the reference that was above it, the node that controls that. And then we also make that change up the chain to the node that controls that one. So at the end, you're not updating the entire thing. You're updating just the reference points that you need to update. You're not doing all this unnecessary copying of all this complex array. So in this example, it's just 3 nodes wide. And more examples are probably like 32 and get very expensive. And that's probably its own talk itself on how to deal with that stuff. I find it helpful to think about a neighborhood. So imagine, somebody moves out of your neighborhood, the paperwork behind that, they're not making copies of your entire neighborhood anymore. They're just updating the fact that one neighbor has moved out of that address. So you don't have to make a new copy of the whole neighborhood. You're just updating that one piece. And the rest of the neighborhood is the same. You don't have to recopy that or redo all the paperwork. That example helped me. So side effects. Now, I said no side effects before, but our job as developers is kind of to make side effects happen. That's kind of what requirements to do. It would be nice if we could just build the most pure, beautiful programs ever, and that's what we got paid to do, but it's not. It's a messy world out there, and clients change their requirements all the time, and sometimes they straight up lie to you about what the requirements are, and you have to make some compromises. So never having side effects is unrealistic. We're in that business. A great example is reading from a file or database. Now, you have to open up a file stream to read from a text file. You have to open up a database connection to read from a database. Now, that's very hard to do in a pure way, in a pure functional way. Because database connection crash. It's just very difficult to do there. So it's about minimizing side effects. So if you have to open up a database connection, don't put it in the middle of your code chain. That could break everything. You want to kind of put that stuff near the top. So if it does break, A, you can catch it, and B, it's not happening in the middle where you have all this stuff in transit. And then anything that is reaching out to a third party or a third API or anything like that is going to have side effects. It's got to be a messy, stateful thing. It's very hard to connect to APIs, especially when I'm sure you've all connected to an API before that, no documentation, and it's messy and cruddy and doesn't do what they say. And you call and they say, hey, can I talk about your API? And they go, what's an API? And you go, can you transfer me to somebody who knows who that is? And like, tell me what it is. Like, it's not going to help you at all, dude. Just please tell me there's a developer at your work. Actually happened to me. It was a very long phone call. So yeah, it's you're never gonna have a perfect system, but this is very close. And there's many ways to deal with that. One of the ways, proper functional programming language is a language called Clojure for Java. And they use actors and queues to kind of deal with that. They kind of send that stuff off and they'll let it come back to them when it's ready and done. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways to deal with those side effects. Okay, so how the Func, or how to Func probably. What's coding FP actually like? I know how functions work. Am I already a functional programmer then? Well, kind of. You're halfway there. First thing I'll say, it's not magic. It is a great thing to learn, and definitely the side effects aspect. If I could stress one thing, it's the idea that you should minimize the amount of side effects your code is doing. There's really no reason for your code to be doing 18 different things and updating 18 different places. It's really just going to create a great mess. And there's another very smart guy, whose name I'm forgetting, that says, when object-oriented programming is done right, it looks a lot like functional programming. I think he's right in that. There's no reason in object-oriented programming we can't eliminate side effects and make things more pure. But like a framework, it takes a while. We've all done a framework's to-do list, and now I'm going, okay, that makes sense. And you try to do anything you actually want to do in a framework, and you go, I don't have any idea how this works at all, and nobody can help me whatsoever. I've never made a to-do list professionally in my entire life. I don't understand why this is like the gold standard for doing something in a framework. It really teaches you nothing. But it's kind of hard. When I've sit down to write it, I read this book to functional programming in JavaScript. I first heard about this book from a very cool podcast I think is no longer happening, but it's called the Iteration Podcast. It was just two solo developers, contract workers, who talk about different development ideas. But if you guys like that sort of thing, I would highly recommend it. They have a lot of good topics, and it's pretty concise too. But it's hard whenever you write down, to think about this. Go, I know how to write a function, and you start doing it, and you go, oh wait, I kind of need to do this, and I kind of need to do that, and like, kind of know how to do that with all these functional things. So it does take a while. So I recommend all of you try this, because just trying it has made me really rethink how I write my code, and really made me pay more attention to what I'm actually doing in my code, rather than just like trying to solve a solution and trying to hack my way back to making something cleaner. I think that's another feasible example of functional programming. It really makes you think of the cleanup first versus after. I think we really should start thinking that way, especially when you write things in a functional way. It makes them a lot more unit testable. There's a lot of object-oriented code that I've seen that I don't even know how to begin to make that unit testable. Yeah, but it's hard. It's going to take some time. And I think it also depends on the language you're working in. I feel like JavaScript really lends itself to this. Really, any programming language that kind of treats functions as values, and you can pass those around and chain those up, is going to be useful for this. But yeah, get to know your language's default functions. If you're in JavaScript, get to know map, filter. I've since getting familiar with those two and knowing how to use that well, I don't think I've written a for loop in a year or so. It just doesn't really come up anymore. I need to write that. Those functions really take care of it. avoiding the doggone dogma. So this is not a object-oriented programming is garbage, and functional programming is everything. If you're not doing that, you're an idiot, and you should walk out right now. Please don't walk out. This is let's get a little bit smarter about what we're doing, and hopefully learn something that we can pass on, and make our code stand on its own, and set good examples for other people coming in and looking at our code base, so we don't get embarrassed, so they don't drive to our house and beat us up or something like that. I think with object-oriented and functional programming, there's lots of worrying on that. I mentioned earlier there's lots of articles that's outright bashing object-oriented programming and saying it's dead and it's stupid and nobody cares, and it's made in California, so who cares? But that's really not true. There's still lots of situations where object-oriented is a good idea. Unity, it's a gaming framework library that uses objects heavily, and that makes a lot of sense for a video game. You have a lot of things that need inheritance. It makes a lot of sense, and a lot of abstractions that you need to do, and a lot of shared ideas and data that needs to be passed around. So this is adding another tool in your tool belt, and knowing how to pick the right tool for the job. And everything is situational too. Like I said, there's not got to be times that, like connecting a database or with a third party, that doing a functional approach really isn't going to be that helpful, and it really isn't going to provide that much value to you. So in the end too, readability is the golden rule. If in functional programming, you'll see people write functional chains that are eight chains long of functions, and now you see that, and now you have to go look at every single function and see what it does. And so it's really not helping readability at that point. So this is not, still the golden rule remains that readability is key. And by readability, I mean how quickly can I look at this code and figure out what it's doing and why it's there. I think the why is a really important part too. You'll find a lot of code comments that say this function returns a 1. You go, cool, why is it here and why is it being used, and can I get rid of it because it's stupid? I don't understand why you need that. But readability is that way. You want your code to make sense on its own. It's really hard to do, and it takes a lot of time to master that. That's the bulk of what I wanted to say tonight. I have some additional learning for you guys. I was going to add a bunch of code examples in this, but I felt like just kind of getting the concepts down was enough to digest. And really, the actual coding aspect of this could be a whole other talk, which I may do at some point. But a few more people that I've been listening to. This is a really great talk, Russ Olson. It's a bit similar to mine, but he's a Clojure developer, and I think the way he describes these problems is very realistic, and it's not catty. It's not, I'm such a cool developer. It's very, very realistic. And I'll also put these slides out and these links out too for anybody interested, so you don't have to take a picture. Second one is a great YouTube channel I found called Continuous Delivery. They have a couple videos on object-oriented versus functional programming. Again, this is more avoiding the religious dogma of this is better, or that's garbage, or something's dead, or you're a loser, or whatever. And the rest of their channel is actually really good, and they don't have that many subscribers. So they also have a big suite on continuous delivery and working with Git that I've been very interested in. And in Agile talks, I'm sure we've all been in a company that wanted to implement Agile, and that meant a new task every day, which is not how you do that. Lastly, fun function. So if you want to get more into the code aspect of it, especially with JavaScript, I recommend this guy. He's a little corny, but he's European, so he can't help it. But he actually, his videos are very concise, and I think I learned a lot from watching him, and they're very, very good examples. He definitely knows what he's doing. I don't have a slide for this one, but Fireship.io is another great channel you should look for too. They have Lots of great, quick videos that don't dumb anything down. You still get a lot of substance out of them. They also have a great code-by-code comparison of object-oriented and Java and functional programming done in TypeScript. It's very cool to see. Yeah, but that's it. Func it.
All right, so we're going to do some questions. If you have one, raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you.
What are some of the functional programming languages you've used, and which ones do you recommend?
I would recommend JavaScript just because people are pretty familiar with that one. Closure is another good one. F#, if you want kind of C# flavor for that. I really haven't used too many of them yet. Like I said, I'm not an expert yet at all, but I would kind of also look at search YouTube and tutorials and stuff and see like how much content is out there for whatever language you want to learn in. There's quite a few of them, and also you don't have to use a functional programming language to implement some functional programming ideas too. They can be really implemented anywhere. Does that answer your question? Cool.
So with your experience with both, which one would you say would take longer or is easier for you?
Great question. Right now, object-oriented is still easier for me just because I'm more familiar with it. But I think after learning about FP, and I think once I get used to writing that way, I think it's going to be a lot faster. And also, it's a lot less code too, so you have a lot less bugs coming up, and a lot less of the common trappings of OOP that just slow you down. Like, yeah, sure, you can get it out fast, but no, it's going to bite you in the end. One of the things that Edgar Jishka guy that I mentioned earlier said that he's a big proponent of clean code. He said, if you're writing something quick and dirty, and then you're imagining me over your shoulder shaming you, then no, I've lived a good life, and I'm pretty much immortal now. And I think that's a very profound thing on how to spend profound statement on how to spend your time. But no, now I think of them if I'm trying to do something quick and dirty. So I'm getting a little better.
So for a JavaScript developer, when would you implement this concept? When would you implement functional programming? Would you do that at the start of their journey, or would you do that 5 years later once you've experienced the problem enough to start implementing these techniques?
I would implement it the moment you start hearing about it, honestly. It's not going to be a do or die thing that you have to start writing everything in functional programming immediately, but the concepts can start being applied now, I think is the best answer. So yeah, if you've heard about it and you know kind of how to write it, then start writing in that way.
One thing I would add to that is that you might already be using some of it.
Yeah.
Like React.js, it takes a lot like functional programming concepts.
Yeah, and if you use map in JavaScript before, you used a functional concept.
Any other questions?
For the follow-up talk you talked about,
Yeah.
Would you be willing to explore like any of the front-end functional programming languages like Elm or Reason ML?
Yeah, I'd be willing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Easy answer.
Does the elimination of mutable state mean that functional programming generally has no to very few exceptions or try catches?
No, you still implement try catches and exceptions because it's still stuff like you have to connect to a database and you want to check that stuff. But there's a lot less of that. More so, there's a lot less of concurrency issues. When something's being updated over here and then over here again, and you get confusion in between there. So it really cuts down concurrency issues.
Oh, there we go.
So I mean, let's say you're stuck with a like C# or JavaScript to a certain extent. I know it's more functional, but like C# has functional aspects
Yeah.
to it too. Are there like techniques or things you can do to kind of put guardrails up to enforce more functional programming style? Because I can see how you go and
Yeah.
I want to write this function, and the next thing you know, you're kind of doing it the way you've always done it, or there's something behind you that makes a change. Like, are there things you can do to kind of restrict?
I think it's really, unfortunately, no. I think is the main answer in something like C#, and no, in JavaScript too. JavaScript is a great candidate for functional, and really kind of is. Its classes are kind of a joke class in JavaScript. But no, I think it's really about getting your team on board with this type of concept. So it is a slow process to kind of implement it. But I think if someone sees your pure function that's in and out and is super easy to read, they kind of go, hell yeah. If someone writes over that, they're kind of a dickhead. So yeah.
So if I'm your client, I'm not paying you to fix your code, but it's all spaghetti-like and you've inherited it from a guy that's not there anymore. When do you make that decision that you need to implement some functions?
Well, that's a great question. It's kind of the situation I'm in now. No, people aren't going to pay for the mistakes that previous developers are, and they don't deserve to. So I think that's a big question with whoever's managing your time and whoever's managing the group of developers you're working with on when to start picking that stuff out. But with new code, you can start writing. If you have a new function, right, you can start writing that in a functional way now. I mean, it really is about slightly getting better and like slightly taking stuff out as you're doing it. That's bad. So we really wish it was magic and like, hey, let's all do functional programming, and then we have no more bugs and everything's unit testable. But it really doesn't work that way. So it's a slow go.
I know you mentioned the use of object-oriented programming for use in game development. What context would be best for functional programming, or even perhaps a combination of the two?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've thought about that yet. I don't have a good answer for you yet, but I will one day. I'll get back to you.
Twice. All right. Give a big round of applause to Jordan for that wonderful presentation. There we go. Okay, cool. Oh boy. Nope, just kidding. Okay, so a couple other closing slides before we all split off and do after-party stuff. If you're interested in volunteering as a part of Springfield Devs, we have a website committee, a communications committee, an events committee, a sponsorship committee, and these are all committees that you could volunteer in and help give back to this group and help us grow and do better. So if you're interested in doing that kind of stuff, scan this QR code. There's also a volunteer sign-up channel in our Discord. I don't think I have a slide for this, but also there are some flyers for some other groups and stickers over on that table on the far right. My right, your left. Feel free to take some before you leave if you're interested. Next month, we have a presentation from Scott Blevins, Ruthlessly Exploiting AI for personal gain or profit, which I love the title for this. I'm very excited for it. This will be going up on our meetup page in a week or two, so if you're interested, make sure to RSVP. It'll be October 4th here at the eFactory as well. So, and then I think last slide. Yep, just a reminder about the after party. We're going to be hanging out at 417 Tap House. It takes us 20-ish minutes to pack up everything here. So as it says, if you're the first one there, grab us a table. But thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you all again next month.